Wood is a material that has that capacity to appeal to us deeply as human beings.
We can take that material and use it in so many different ways that really speaks to something that's tied closely to human nature.
Honestly, I think wood is the most beautiful material to build with. It changes everything.
Construction, particularly of large buildings made of steel and concrete, is a big contributor to greenhouse gases.
The way that cement is made, the way that steel is made, I mean, these are manufacturing processes that are harmful to the environment. If we don't change the way we do that, there's no question that we're going to reach that tipping point on climate change.
So some architects and designers are advocating for an old building material as a greener solution: wood.
We have stick frame construction right now, and that's using small pieces of wood, like individual 2x4s, to build houses. But we haven't had a revolutionary wood product in the building sector that you can build tall with ever before.
That changed several decades ago when the concept of mass timber began gaining traction in Europe. Katerra opened the largest cross-laminated timber factory in North America outside Spokane, Washington in 2019.
Mass timber means massive timber. We used to use huge pieces of wood in buildings, but now, because we don't have those huge trees out there, we are gluing these small pieces together to make these huge panels. It's essentially an old concept that's refreshed in a new way.
Mass timber is essentially taking that dimensional lumber that you would find in a lumber yard, and you lay them up 90 degrees from one another in odd numbered layers. You can develop these very large two-dimensional panels. And in the case of Katerra, our press is 12 feet wide, 60 feet long. By laying the fibers of the wood perpendicular to one another, you create that strength in two directions, like you would with a concrete slab.
The fact that timber is a renewable resource that captures carbon and creates less greenhouse gases than steel and concrete is appealing to architects and builders.
Trees, when they're growing, they're grabbing carbon out of the atmosphere. That carbon is captured in the wood. It gets put into a building. That's essentially a carbon sink. Then when you replace those trees, and this is key, you have to have a well-managed forest, but those young trees suck up the carbon even faster than the old growth. Then you cut it down, turn it into mass timber buildings, store it, and then do the whole cycle again.
When we were working on Adohi Hall with the University of Arkansas, the education started early. First and foremost was, why would make sense for a residence hall? Second was getting our local fire marshals and state fire marshals in early and get them on board so that at the tail end of the process, they're not, throwing their hands in the air saying, well, what is this? You can't put 700 students in a wood building. Yes, we can. It'll be fine. And here's why.
There's a big misconception about fire and mass timber. Back in 2016, we conducted some extensive fire testing. The computer models for the results of the tests were predicting something that the scientists didn't believe, that the wood would maintain its integrity. The fire consumed all of the material inside of the building, and then it extinguished itself. It was incredible. Because of those positive results, the International Code Council created their new International Building Code, and they included tall mass timber buildings up to 18 stories.
The University of Arkansas's wood dormitory, Adohi Hall, is the first to be constructed from mass timber in the U.S.
This project is a huge investment on the part of the university, and to go to this route, mass timber, Adohi Hall is like the third largest project the University of Arkansas has ever built. It's right behind stadium renovation number 1 and stadium renovation number 2.
We saw the opportunity to, in fact, provide those students with an innovative building itself. That indicates to the students we are thinking forward, we are thinking progressively.
Every dorm room has a wood ceiling in it, which is, I'd say, a far cry from the concrete block cell that I lived in when I was a student at the University of Arkansas.
But Adohi Hall also showed the limitations of sourcing and manufacturing mass timber locally.
The challenges we faced with Adohi Hall was that we were sourcing that material from pretty far away. The most cost-effective way to get that material for this particular project had to come from overseas. And yet we have so much of that resource here in Arkansas, we just can't yet tap into it without sending the wood away and then getting the wood back as something else. Adohi Hall has about 143,000 cubic feet of lumber in it. That is roughly equivalent to the amount of wood that is grown in the state of Arkansas in a matter of hours. In our state's 65% forest. So when you have a resource like that, it's heavily managed, it's sustainable, it's renewable, carbon sequestering. Imagine that spread across a larger share of the construction industry. The impact of that is huge, and I think it's critical.
Katerra is one of the newest manufacturers contributing to the growth of the mass timber industry in the Pacific Northwest.
We're at this inflection point now in the employment of mass timber where it has rapidly become cost competitive. It can be used now in multi-story construction as much as it could be used in residential construction.
There is sufficient material out there. It's getting the material off the land. Right now, the US doesn't have the amount of capacity to satisfy all the demand. As manufacturing comes online, we'll be able to better satisfy that demand.
The Catalyst building in Spokane is our first mass timber building for Katerra that we use as CLT out of our factory. Changing people's behavior is difficult, especially in the construction industry. Until we get some of these buildings constructed and we prove that they can be done faster and cost competitive with other types of construction, it's going to be difficult to get people to change their behavior.
From a sustainability standpoint, mass timber is critical to the building industry moving forward.
Environmental organizations like the Sierra Club and Greenpeace have said the benefits of substituting wood for steel and concrete are exaggerated. They argue that it puts forests at risk, and logging still creates greenhouse gases. And there is also scale. One building won't make a difference.
We really need to create thousands of buildings across the planet with this material in order to make a difference.